It's Fill Your Plate Now, where every bite brings you closer to the farm gate and further from what's unhealthy. Now, here's your hosts, Julie and Tammy, helping you live well by filling your plate well.
Hi, this is Julie with Fill Your Plate Now, our weekly podcast about nutrition and agriculture. It's really that synergy between the farm gate to the plate. And we're going to discuss one of my favorite topics. It's one of the 5 C's, one of Arizona's 5 C's, which is climate. And there's so much to say. I'm a little bit bummed today, though. I'm flying solo once again. Tammy Baker with the Arizona Milk Producers is not with me, but sometimes we're going to have to tag team, and she's going to cover a podcast, and I won't be available. Hopefully, you'll love us both, so we'll both be doing what we do here on Fill Your Plate Now. Why climate? Well, climate is what makes Arizona agriculture so robust, and it is what sets us apart from the majority of the country, with the exception of California. California and I and the state of Arizona, we kind of partner back and forth in terms of really celebrating all that sunshine that we have out west. So let's talk about it a little bit. And I got to tell you a farm story before I launch in to some of the major areas as it relates to climate. So I grew up on an Arizona cotton, wheat, and alfalfa farm in south of Phoenix in Maricopa, Arizona. I have 3 brothers, one older, 2 younger. And in the summers, when we were older, Dad would hand us a whole hoe and send us out to the cotton field, and we'd chop weeds in the cotton field. Today, you don't have to do that because of improved technology with our seed. We can keep weeds out of the field and all that other fun stuff. But we would get up at 4:30, although truth be told, most farm families get up that early. But we had a very concerted purpose for getting up that early, and that was because of our hot summers. So we'd be in the field by 5, we'd work till 1, we'd get our 8 hours in, and we'd have most of the farm work done by the time it was time for us to do other things as kids and enjoy the remaining part of the day. There's about 5 major areas when it comes to climate here in Arizona that I like to highlight, and the first one is how abundant our sunshine is. It's basically nature's free energy source. And there's key points to that that I kind of want to highlight under that major area, this first major area. Our sunlight is consistent, and that consistent sunlight powers the photosynthesis and extends the growing seasons dramatically. So, let me give you an example. A long growing season like cotton, it may take quite a bit of time to do that cotton, but we can do it in Arizona. We plant typically here in the valley the first part of April, and we don't harvest until November. Well, it's easy for us to have that long growing season of cotton because we have so many days of sunshine. There, a lot of our low desert areas enjoy nearly year-round daylight with minimal cloud cover. This leads to faster crop growth and higher yields. You might hear as you learn about Arizona's agriculture that we do a lot of really good work because we have 360 plus days of sunshine. Some of my farmers would contend it's 365 days full of sunshine. And because of that and the power of our sun, it really makes our crops grow well, grow fast, and produce higher yields. I like to refer to what the Arizona Farm Bureau calls Arizona's golden gift. That's this free solar energy that allows multiple harvests per year, especially of our alfalfa. In the Midwest, if I'm farming alfalfa, I maybe only have 3 or 4 cuttings in a year. But as an Arizona farmer, farming with my parents through 2004, we could have up to 8 cuttings in one year of alfalfa. Some of our farmers on drip sometimes have as many as 10 to 12 cuttings in one given year. And that's solely because of our amazing sunshine here in the state of Arizona. The solar abundance is especially powerful for high value winter vegetables when the rest of the country is overcast and cold. You couldn't produce the level of vegetables in, for example, Minnesota that you can here in Arizona. And it's kind of a pendulum shift, I like to say, about California and Arizona. So a lot of those leafy greens are being produced in the summer in California, and then that pendulum shifts to Yuma, Arizona, where most of our maximum leafy green production is taking place. And again, it can't be replicated. We can't pick that up and plop it in the Midwest because they don't have our climate. One of the other key elements or points to our climate is the mild winters. America's winter basket is right here in Arizona. Again, it's because of our climate. Yes, our Arizona summers are hot. That's the farm story that I told you in the beginning of this segment, where we'd get out by 4:30 and working in the fields at 5 to get our 8 hours in. We'd work right through lunch to 1 o'clock. So they're hot summers, but mild winters. And in these southern desert regions, that's important to know because we can really, if we have the water, we can really maximize the production in agriculture. As we've said, and you'll hear us say that more than once, Yuma is the winter lettuce capital of the world. Averages in January in terms of high are around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. We have very few times of freeze. Of course, if we have them, that can damage the crops. So Yuma is ideal for growing climate. And then obviously during the winter, Arizona supplies 80 to 90% of the leafy greens throughout the United States and Canada. And we rank our percentage nationally in comparison is about 25% of the nation's total annual lettuce. So that's going to translate to billions of servings of fresh produce shipped nationwide, and that's up to 1,200 to 1,500 semi truckloads leave Yuma during peak harvest season daily. This is not monthly, this is not weekly, this is daily. And those are refrigerated semi truckloads. So we can get that lettuce from Yuma to New York. I Googled this in about 4 to 5 days. It's fresh because it's been chilled, and it can be on a beautiful plate in New York that same evening, about 4 to 5 days later. And one of the other amazing things about Arizona's climate and why it's so optimum for agriculture in Arizona is our year-round growing and diverse microclimates. So what they can do in Yuma is completely different in many ways than what they can do up north. And those are some of the things that we can do. So that year-round growing and diverse microclimates are important. So on this point with diverse microclimates, you've got the low deserts to high plateaus and multiple USDA hardiness zones. And Arizona supports everything from subtropical dates and melons to apples and pecans. That's why the diversity of our agriculture is so amazing because we have these microclimates. Farmers can harvest crops every month of the year. So I always like to say we're planting and harvesting 12 months out of the year. And those hot summers, they're perfect for cotton. That's why when I was a kid, I was chopping weeds in the cotton field because it was perfect for growing our cotton. Any heat-loving crops love the summer heat, while the monsoon rains provide natural moisture for our ranchers, and they fill up our natural water tanks for our livestock and the wildlife. So very important there. And a lot of the infrastructure that's built by our ranchers also benefits the wildlife. Another major area that I like to feature when it comes to climate is the innovation in irrigation and the economic powerhouse that this state produces thanks to our sunshine. Arizona farmers, in my book, have mastered water use in this arid environment and turning a challenge into one of the greatest strengths happens to be the fact that they can take the infrastructure that they've built decades ago, turn on the spigot if the water is available, water our crops, and transform this desert into one of the most productive agriculture areas in the Southwest. Precision irrigation, for example, helps draw from our reservoirs, from underground, and so many other resources for our water. And we do it efficient because of precision agriculture and today's technology. In fact, Yuma generates over $1,500 in crop sales per acre foot of water. Not very many regions of the country can do that. And this efficiency supports a shift to these high value specialty crops like leafy greens, cantaloupes, pistachios, pecans, and dates. If we didn't have this type of climate and the irrigation efficiencies that our farmers have built out over the years, we wouldn't be producing the robust agriculture we are. Arizona ranks third in fresh market vegetables and leads the nation in winter leafy greens, cantaloupes, honeydews, pistachios, and dates, including one of the largest pecan groves and date plantations in the United States. Overall, Arizona ag and agribusiness contributes nearly $31 billion to the state's economy, and that's up from $23 billion prior to 2017. And that's supporting over 138,000 jobs and exports to more than 70 countries. Partnerships with the University of Arizona help drive our research so that we can continue to maximize on this beautiful feature of climate. I will tell you that literally some of our research stations, as they're called, on the land grant university, their main focus is how to maximize on this desert agriculture environment that we live in. And that's what's so exciting for me, even in the course of my life and farming with my parents and looking at the way farmers are farming today. My dad had a soil probe to check the moisture in the field, but it was mechanical. He had to twist it into the soil and then pull it out and check how moist his soil was. Well, today, literally, it's all digitized. They can stick that soil probe in the field, and then they can monitor soil moisture literally from an app on their smartphones. And that's a transformative change from the way my dad would check the moisture in the soil. And I always like to look ahead. That's kind of like I have a broken crystal ball, but I still like to look ahead and I like to ask experts what they think is going to take place. And yes, we are in the midst of a mega drought here in the Southwest. And yes, we have concerns, but there's opportunity. And if you've been listening to any of our podcast episodes, you would know that some of our guests are highlighting some of the things they're working toward and what farmers are committed to. And one of the reasons that they're at the table with the policy people, because we know some of the challenges facing us. But water security and climate variability are real concerns. Despite that, Arizona is leading with drought resistant varieties. We're leading with precision farming. And centers like the Yuma Center of Excellence for Desert Agriculture, again, it's one of those research stations that's hyper focused on maximizing our unique climate with our agriculture, marry that and improve the agriculture even better than what we have it today with all the technology. So it's things like that that are helping us maximize food security, water efficiency, and really celebrate the fact that we have so much sunshine here in the desert, because it really is something special and unique and why our agriculture is so amazing. The state's experiences always prove that ingenuity can turn tough environments into abundant food producing regions. And Arizona is certainly a spotlight in that. We celebrate this because, again, our farm gate to plate, where we share the ag story, in this case, celebrating climate, to our nutritionists that help us to know how to eat right, really makes a difference. And it's things like this, and one of the reasons climate is part of Arizona's 5 Cs, that we can celebrate what we as native Arizonans and transplants to the state can celebrate about one of the most important 5 Cs of Arizona. And my question to you who are listening, can you recite or identify the other 4 Cs of Arizona's 5 Cs? If you can, look us up and share, and we'll let you know if you got 100%. But watch us as we unfold some other episodes on nutrition, and like and follow us on our YouTube page. And also, you can find us in any of the podcast channels, streaming channels, and we'll be right back every week at 7 o'clock in the morning on Thursdays. Thank you.